Hey kids and parents, I'm sitting here in a cup fort in my house because sometimes you clean out your pantry and you find out that you have a lot of red cups. So many red cups. And I had a friend who said, you know what you should do with those red cups? You should make a big giant red cup fort. And so I did. I made a big red giant cup fort. And she said you could do a read aloud in your cup fort. So we're going to. So we're going to read a book today. Maybe we'll read a book tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. And that way you guys can get some story time from Tidwell if you want some this week. Okay, so for the first reading inside the cup fort, we're going to read the book More Bears. Yeah, by Ken Nesbitt. More Bears, one of my favorites. Because you get to scream More Bears a lot. You guys got to scream with me, though, because otherwise I'll just feel silly sitting in a cup fort screaming about bears. Once upon a time, there was a story, and this story was a lovely story with absolutely no bears in it. Not a single bear anywhere. And then, one day... More bears! What? Who said that? The author of the story looked around the room, wondering where those voices had come from. Were those the voices of children shouting? And then he went back to writing. As I was saying, this story had absolutely no bears at all, and the author was certain about this. More bears! The author tried very hard to ignore the children who thought that the story ought to have... You guys know the answer, don't you? More bears! Fine. The story had a bear. It was a cute little baby bear strolling through the book looking for... What do you think? More bears! Now, hold on a second. The author of the story knew exactly how many bears it should have. And the author insisted there should only be... You guys know what to say. More bears! 2 bears. There, are you happy now? An adorable, cuddly-wuddly little baby bear named Mr. Fluffy, and his mama bear named Stella, who always wore a yellow hat, and now it happened that Stella and Mr. Fluffy, like all bears, were especially fond of... More bears! More bears, of course. The author was thinking that just to keep everybody happy, this story should have a papa bear, whose name, by the way, was Captain Picklehead. And a bear named Uncle Sheldon, who was bald and loved to play the ukulele. Now, where were we? Oh, yes. More bears! Stop that. How many bears do you want this story to have anyway? Do you really want to hear all about Bobcat Sam, the bear who rode a pony, and Admiral Havisham, the English dancing bear, and excellent Steve, the bear who just wanted to surf? You do? Wow, why didn't you just say so? In that case, the author suddenly decided that what the story really needed was... More bears! Yes, more bears. So the author added Astro Bear, who, by the way, was Bulgarian, and always kept a hamster in his pocket, just in case. And then the author put in 3 more bears named Lester, Chester, Esther, and Floyd. Oh, wait, that's 4. Oh, well, 4 is okay, because after all, this story really needed... More bears! It needed a bear named Lucky Eddie who juggled carrots, and a bear named Elbow who wasn't very smart and always wore his underpants on the outside of his regular pants, and a bear named 1, 2, 3, which the author thought was a strange name for a bear. And since this probably wasn't enough, the author added even... More bears! The author added 6 bears on tiny pink bicycles, and 2 bears reading comic books, and 1 bear flying across the page in a cape and lederhosen, and 3 more bears swinging through the trees, and several bears making cupcakes, and a bear in a yellow submarine, and an entire team of firefighting bears running across the page with hoses and ladders and party balloons. There were bears hanging from the top of the page, bears sleeping in the corners, and bears standing on the top of other bears. There were so many bears in the story that they couldn't all fit on one page. It was crowded, too crowded. So crowded that some of the bears started pushing other bears off the page and arguing, which made the author grumpy. And when authors get grumpy, they start rewriting and changing the story. In fact, this author was so grumpy that he told the bears to leave. And they did. And after all, this was the author's story. They walked off the page, they rode off the page, they swung and surfed and danced and climbed and ran and even somersaulted off the page. And at last all the bears were gone and the author smiled. Finally, the author had a story with no bears in it. A lovely story with not a single bear anywhere, just the way the author wanted it. Because you see, the author was quite certain that this story should have absolutely more chickens! That was fun. We'll do another one tomorrow. I was going to do this on camera, but my dog's tail just knocked all the cup fort down except for, well, half the cup fort down. So hang on, we'll do the other half. All right, since the dog already knocked half of it down, the other part of making a cup fort is knocking it down. So we'll knock this down on camera. Ready? Here we go. This one? All right.
No, this one.
Huh? Jason's telling me this one. This one? This one? This one?
Hit this way.
Hit this way. Okay.
This way.
That's a lot of cups. And for those who wanted to see what all those cups look like stacked on top of each other, like I did, this is what it looks like.